Danielle Smith has decided to make it harder for women in rural Alberta to escape domestic violence. Let me explain. Just yesterday, the Alberta Council of Women's Shelters, they revealed that as of July 1st, the UCP will cut funding for 23 women's shelters across the province, including about a dozen in rural areas. Here's their executive director, Kat Champagne, on a Real Talk with Ryan Jesperson yesterday.
We're looking at cuts of at least 5% to these shelters across the province. I mean, ultimately, 5% doesn't feel like a lot of money, but these shelters are already struggling. They're already at a deficit. They're already needing community support, other funding sources just to survive.
So what's that going to mean on the ground? Well, the Waypoint Shelter in Fort McMurray, they say 9 of their 45 rooms are now going to have to sit empty, even as they turn women and children away because they can't afford to operate them. In the Mountain Rose Women's Shelter in Rocky Mountain House, well, they have 21 beds to support women living in an area that spans from Drayton Valley to Sundre to the Banff-Jasper border. And they say now they're going to have to choose between laying off staff or cutting services. And that's after they already cut their hours from 40 a week to 26 and haven't given any increase to their staff for 2 years. Last year, they served 210 women and children in their emergency shelter. They turned away twice as many, 545 women and 350 children, because the supply wasn't enough to meet the need. And now the UCP are making it worse. Even more women and children fleeing to escape domestic violence are going to be left with nowhere to go. And that's despite the fact that data from Statistics Canada show women in rural areas are nearly twice as likely to face domestic violence. And according to the council, that violence is often more severe. Now, the UCP says, well, hey, money's tight. There's only so much to go around. But the fact is, they sure seem to have money to throw around on things that they want to. Public Safety Minister Mike Ellis, well, he's spending millions to create his new provincial police force that a strong majority of Albertans have said they don't want. And what does he say is the reason that he has to do so? Well, I'll let him speak for himself.
But, Speaker, when somebody calls 911, I expect somebody to go to that call. Whether you live in Peace River or Coots or Lloydminster or Grand Prairie, rural Albertans expect the same level of service as the residents of our large or mid-sized municipalities.
So the UCP, they say they believe rural communities deserve the same level of service as larger cities. And here Minister Ellis says it's essential that he spend millions on a new provincial police force to ensure that there's an immediate answer to every 911 call. But when it comes to the services and supports like women's shelters in rural areas that protect and save lives so that 911 call resulting from domestic violence never has to be made, well, there's no funding available for that. Which does make me wonder if this isn't just more about the UCP preferring to spend their money on things that help them politically. I mean, creating a provincial police force to replace the RCMP, that's a pretty popular policy with separatists, the folks that put Danielle Smith in power, that hold a majority in the UCP. And the UCP have happily committed to spending tens of millions of dollars on Danielle Smith's referendum on separatism this fall. But here she is cutting funding for women's shelters in rural areas where the vast majority of that minority of Albertans who identify as separatists actually live. Which is a bit ironic because, I mean, one of the main reasons separatists want to leave Canada is because they say they don't see enough return on the taxes they pay to Ottawa. And here we have Danielle Smith and the UCP taking those taxes paid by rural Albertans and spending them on things like a massive new bureaucracy in healthcare, which is mostly located in Edmonton and Calgary, bigger salaries for their MLAs, and sweetheart contracts for their friends and donors who, well, they're mainly in the big cities too. All while they cut services that actually would save the lives of women in rural communities. All with no notice, no consultation, and no transparency. Because as we see time and time again, the UCP just aren't in this for Albertans. They're in this for themselves. I mean, they cut funding for programs and services Albertans depend on that save Albertans' lives, all while they spend more money on the things that benefit them. It's kind of the opposite of what governments are elected to do. And that's just not right. You deserve a government that puts your needs first. The UCP don't, the UCP won't. But an Alberta NDP government, I promise you, we will.